Hi Ashwini. Hi.
Hi, Amrita.
Hi, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah, you're totally clear.
Yeah,
You can see me too, right?
yeah, I can.
Okay. Then I will just check once everything because I just lost a recording sometime back. I'll just check whether I'm recording or not. Okay.
No issues. Yeah,
Yeah. We will start then. Okay?
yeah.
The other light, yeah. Oh no, Alota, just a minute. Okay. I'll first ask you to introduce yourself and then we will ask the questions. Okay?
Yeah, fine.
Hi Ashwini, thank you so much for doing this with me. Tell me a little bit about yourself and my readers too.
Yeah. Hi, Amrita. Thanks for having me here. And yeah, hi everyone. I'm Ashvini Nayak. I've been a corporate trainer for the first 5 years of my career, and I quit my job in 2017 to pursue my interest in content writing. So right now I'm a blogger of health and parenting, and I'm also a food blogger, which I've ventured very recently into. And yeah, besides that, I'm a freelance content writer as well. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
And professionally, how will you describe yourself? Tell me a little bit about what you studied growing up.
Yeah, I grew up in the Gulf, and basically, although my interest revolves around literature and a lot of writing and poetry and that kind of stuff, I also had an interest towards very scientific topics and subjects. Physics was my favorite, and a bit of math as well. And somehow I got inclined into engineering. And as the adage goes in India, it's very likely that you pursue engineering. And it was during the late 2000s. So yeah, I got into engineering, and I did my Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics and Telecommunication. So I graduated in 2011, and after which I did a diploma in Java technologies, along with what I learned a lot of programming languages and detailed study of all web technologies. So I also landed my first job as a software trainer. So my first job was at NIIT, and later on, I was into software training in the corporate sector. So that's how I would describe myself from the professional point of view. Yeah.
So that's a very long and interesting journey and very varied too, I must say. Thank you for joining me for this. I just wanted to ask you about your child or children. How many children do you have?
I have a 7-year-old daughter.
Okay, I have an 8-year-old daughter. So we are going to share resources now. Tell me, how do you choose your online resources for your child?
Uh, See, I would want to keep it minimal and less overwhelming, because keeping their age in mind, because whether the child is 7-year-old or at least the child turns 10, or their mental capabilities are not um, able to handle a lot of academic pressure, neither co-curricular pressure. So I like to keep it, I would want to call it underwhelming only, because it is during this phase that they have to develop their other disciplines, such as social communication or physical exercise and that kind of stuff, where they rediscover their other talents apart from learning what they're taught at school, which is basically science, arithmetic, and all these kind of similar subjects. And going by this philosophy or point of view or perspective that I say as the parent of a 7-year-old, I would only say that today, thanks to internet, we are surrounded by a lot of free information. And coming to online resources for e-learning, I think it's better to stick to what the child's school is prescribing, because I think during this COVID period, almost all schools have taken to the e-learning mode, the virtual classes, and I think they're doing pretty good. So whatever the school is prescribing, whether it is an app or whether it is through the school's portal, I think that is pretty much sufficient for a child who is like up to just 10 years of age. So I think whatever the school is giving or whatever the child is interested in learning on his or her own
Okay.
from free sources like YouTube or other media like which are free. I mean, you don't have to sign up or do anything of that sort or pay some cash for that. I think this is sufficient for a child.
For younger
Yeah,
children especially, that's what you mean, right? Like
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
their interest is, like we don't need
yeah,
to overwhelm them, we need to
yeah.
let them
True.
explore. Okay, that's very
Yeah,
good. So there are no
yeah.
particular apps that you use other than maybe YouTube for learning stuff and fun stuff for your kids,
Yeah,
like any
yeah.
specific
So,
apps you use?
right now, it's right now since she's getting school online, it's basically Zoom or Google Meet. That is for her, I mean, academics only. And apart from that, she watches, or I suggest her to watch certain um, art related channels or videos because she's more inclined towards art, whether it is craft work or whether it is clay modeling or that kind of stuff or origami. She's learning it through YouTube. And I remember using this Freedom app, which was prescribed to her by her school last year. So we were introduced to this app last year, and it was almost made mandatory by her school. So this app is aimed at improving the child's communication skills, speech, pronunciation, and the interest towards reading stuff. Because these days, sadly, we do not have such an environment where children are having access to paperback books, unlike the times that we used to have. So people are so loaded with academics itself that they don't make enough time to read books or novels or that sort. Or basically, it's Kindle or those kind of devices that we are used to. Yeah. So basically, it's been Google Meet, Zoom, or Freedom. Yeah, that's me.
What are your must-have resources as a parent? Like other than the school resources, like do you prefer physical books, board games, any other particular things which other parents are sharing with you, or your childhood memories? What do you fall back on? What are your resources for teaching your kid during this pandemic?
Uh, Personally, I have adopted this book learning habit, wherein at least weekly, twice or thrice, my daughter she reads a few pages of the book. Given that she's just 7 years old, she cannot be expected to finish the entire book of over 150 or 200 pages all in at a stretch. So yeah, I get her books. I order books online, and I've made it a point that at least for the next 3 or 4 years, I would prefer her to read paperback books instead of just relying on the e-versions of those books because there is a certain tolerance level or the certain optimization or calibration ability that you have with the screen of the device that your child is being exposed to. So it's always good that your child is used to the old school way of reading. And reading is another science on its own. I mean, when you read a book, you're actually renting a part of your brain. You're actually putting yourself in the shoes of the author, and that is a very great thing to do. And I feel it is a must for a child instead of just being engrossed into YouTube or any other online resources to learn anything.
So physical books you buy for her, right?
Yeah, yeah, right.
Okay,
And
that's
yeah,
very
she's
good.
been playing board games, and all some of most of the time she plays alone. She has to because both of us are working, and we do make sure that we are also playing with her. So yeah, I fall back on the old school way, because that's how we were keeping ourselves engaged in childhood. So I think it's always good, and there is some bit of physical activity that we do, as in we play badminton during the evenings and all that, if the weather is okay, and stuff like that. I think these things are as important as covering the syllabus that is being told to them by the school. Yeah.
Okay, that's very good to know. What are the problems you faced during the 2020 e-learning phase that schools are doing? Like, what are the problems you as a parent faced from home? Like, putting your child in front of the laptop for a particular number of hours. Those things can be
Yeah.
taxing for young kids. So, what are the particular problems you faced?
Exactly. So, in my case, so far, it's been like more than 5 months that she's being coached virtually. And I think, yeah, she's never been taught for more than 2 or 3 hours at a stretch. So, in between, she's given 15 or 20 minutes of break. Yet, in the beginning, we noticed that her eyes were watering, and she was not able to sit for a longer time. And I feel personally this happens based on the child's prior exposure to the screen. Because I personally have found that not all kids go through this thing, because maybe some kids are accustomed to a lot of screen time already, whether it is the mobile phone or the laptop. She wasn't as used to it, because we used to just relegate some 1 or 2 hours of a week that she would play or look at something online. So she was not used to the screen time, and yeah, it was a bit. It was taking a toll on her. But yeah, right now she's gotten used to it, and I feel another challenge was she was not mentally ready to accept this kind of an environment, because you know how you have this virtual environment where you look at the other friends, but you don't get to even say or exchange pleasantries with each other. All you have to do is just talk to the teacher, answer her questions, and respond accordingly. So that is a
Right.
huge that has a huge impact, I feel, where these kids are facing this loss of social connection with their friends, which is also a very important part of growing up.
It's very
At least
important
the
for
older, yeah, right. At least the older
kids.
kids, yeah, older kids can adjust to it, but these small kids, I mean, it's very taxing for them.
Very, very, because they are not the kind of people who grabs a phone and says hi to their friends on phone. They like
True.
talking to their phones in person, like playing
Yeah,
with them.
right.
This is the
Yeah,
time they
right.
need to play. I feel that too. Like, it's the
Yeah,
social connection of going to a school. I think that's crucial for kids
yeah,
growing up. Otherwise, as grown-ups, we hardly go out to play, right? But for kids,
right, true.
that's like breathing. They like playing and stuff. Yeah, we are also
Yeah,
trying to
and
play with her just to give
right,
that
and
social
whatever you
connection.
do, yeah, whatever you do, it's not the same as playing with your parents, and
Yeah,
you don't. There's very little similarity between both of these.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Very true,
right,
very true. Because children need kids. Like, they need to
yeah,
be just do their stuff. You're very true.
right, yeah.
What do you feel about this excessive, what shall I say, propaganda advertising of many platforms that we see nowadays? Because, as middle class parents, growing up middle class, you will appreciate that we wanted to always have that focus on. Parents used to say, you study well, then you will be financially independent, you will stand on your own
True.
2 feet. And we all know that there's no other way, basically. Like, you have to study, otherwise, nobody's going to give a job. Neither can you go and get some work done. Even when you are working online as a freelancer, until you know your subject, nobody's going to pay you. Nobody pays you
Exactly.
just because you say, I need money. You need to give some
Yeah,
kind of value. So value
right.
education is very important. So now when there's a kind of advertising which is very popular, like, if you spend this much amount on your kids' education, the kids can get this much money back to you. What do you feel
Yeah.
about that kind of marketing aimed at parents? Does it work for you? Would you want to do, into like encourage your kid to do something which has that kind of advertising focus? Is that a lot of pressure?
No, to be very honest, I would say I call it very brazen, And I feel Indian parents, especially the non-technical parents, they are quite vulnerable to these kind of advertising strategies. I think they are most targeted by these companies, which claim that if you enroll into so and so course with us, your child is going to be a prodigy, and he or she has a bright future, and they are going to earn in millions probably. That is the need of the hour, and if you don't that is a subtle way of telling that if you don't do this right now, your child may lose out on many opportunities in the future. And the terms that the keywords that they use, like let your child be an entrepreneur or whatever it is. I'll just keep it very subtle, but this kind of a marketing strategy, it just fuels the already present helicopter parenting nature of a lot of parents in us. And it's very sad that even a lot of millennial parents who have faced this kind of, who have been raised by helicopter parents, sadly, they are also falling into, or they are also succumbing into such kind of gimmicks. And I feel for a child, while growing up, you should just let the child be, because as they grow up, they pick up things, they pick up skills based on their own interests. Like you cannot, for example, you cannot force a child who's exclusively into, drawing, painting, or that kind of stuff to just go and learn some other thing. Maybe you're forcing him to learn music even when he's not interested. uh, that doesn't make sense according to me. At the same time, I feel as parents, it is not correct for us to get them detached from a certain interest, saying things like, "Hey, I know you like playing guitar and all, but that's not going to feed you later on. So just keep it as a hobby, and maybe you should try this. The neighborhood kids are doing that. Why don't you try that? Why don't you keep yourself engaged?" So I don't think you should be setting boundaries for your child that way. And at the same time, you should let them know that what is important, and you should have discussions with them regarding what they really want to be, or how they see themselves, or where they feel they are lacking in their academic skills, or what they want to personally improvise on. Because I feel this is just sick, asking parents to invest a certain sum of money, and just I mean, just making it look like a factory that you get your kids into, and he will walk out as a professional at the age of 10 or 12 or something like that. Things don't work like that, basically. If
It's actually very sad also, because it's a lot of pressure on the kids who are actually doing it, and parents
Pretty much, yeah,
like it's tough. It's not very
yeah.
easy, but we all want our kids to do well in life. So I suppose there are opportunities when there are competition also. There will be more markets for this. Like if somebody is doing it, there'll be other people who will also try to do it.
True.
Like
But
yeah.
at the same time, I would want to make a point that it's not true that if a certain technology is flourishing right now, it will be in the same shape 10 years from now.
Yeah, true.
Because these technologies eventually do become
Redundant.
obsolete. Yeah, they become redundant. They will be succeeded by better things with involving minimal involvement of the humans and all that. I'm just giving you an example of getting kids to learn a certain coding language, which is not going to work like that 10 years from now, or even 15, even 8 years from now. Because I remember when I started teaching coding, or when I myself started learning coding, it is way different from what uh, people are being trained on today. And earlier, there used to be segregations between a developer and a tester. So if you compare these kind of profiles, even these designations become redundant. There will be companies which will not require a certain position at all. And if you are forcing your child to learn that technology today, hoping that he or she will secure that kind of a position after 10 or 15 years, it's not going to work like that, because technologies change, they evolve, and what you have to make sure that your child is able to do is he or she should be able to adapt to the changing technology. That is what we have to make sure. It's not that you learn certain things, certain technology today. It's going to be useful for you even after 20 years or something, or you'll make a career out of it. That is
This
totally
is very
something wrong.
crucial.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what you mean is like we need to give them a good basic understanding of the material so that whatever
Yeah.
adaptations is required they can do. Just
Yeah.
focusing on a particular technology is going to make it very problematic later on because they don't have a
Exactly.
good grounding of the material. Right, that's
Right.
very true.
And one thing that we have to get rid of is we should really discourage this rote learning format, because it just restricts the child, and it encourages this thing that, okay, it was out of syllabus, so I couldn't do it, I couldn't crack
Yeah.
it. So that is a very common excuse, and we should make sure that the child doesn't have these kind of things. You should let them expand their mental abilities and just not stick to what is there in their curriculum. So that is
Yeah,
what we
that's
should
true.
encourage.
I think that's where, extracurricular and then interacting with their peer groups and reading
Right,
books, that's how they can explore that part. Like
right,
otherwise,
right,
as parents, if we cannot constantly force them to do this and see that, because we are
yeah,
having a different viewpoint. But yes, you're right that
yeah,
they will have to not
right,
do rote learning and learn by themselves to some extent. So that's why
right, right,
maybe
right.
this 2020 thing is good because they are getting a little bored and they are learning to
Yeah,
play by themselves and they are learning how to
right,
do stuff by themselves without having it spoon fed. I think that's good. That
yeah, right, right, right.
what was your favorite subject growing up?
It was English, and later on it became biology. English was a constant. Yeah, it was physics, English, and biology. Yeah, right.
English and biology. And what
Yeah,
was your least favorite subject?
I think um, it was it was civics, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's very interesting because then you went on to become an engineer because you have to
Right.
do a lot of physics. That's tough. That's tough. That's not
No, no, no.
easy.
I said civics. It was civics. Yeah,
Oh, civics.
not
I
physics.
heard
Yeah, yeah,
physics. I'm
yeah.
like, okay, so what happened? Is civics. What civics is interesting. अभी तो सब कुछ civics का ही हो रहा है. All Twitter
Yeah,
conversation starts and ends with civics. You have to know your
yeah, and right,
constitution, your fundamental rights. That's why we are not taking any names, right? Because we know our
right, right.
civics part. So like, there is
Yeah,
no
I mean, whatever
absolute
it
freedom
is,
of speech.
right. You cannot afford to be a politically inert person today in today's
Yeah,
times. And Twitter
and we
is
should not be
all
also
about politics.
because
Yeah,
if you don't have a say in the thing, you will
yeah,
probably can't complain when there is a problem. So you have to
true.
take the
Yeah,
responsibility and the duties and everything together. The rights, responsibility, duties, they
yeah.
all go
We're
together.
we're all part of the system, so we cannot just avoid it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, we can't avoid it. So civics has its role because otherwise we will
Yeah,
be taking brand names and mentioning them by name. So we
right.
know that freedom of speech is not absolute. So we are not
True.
doing that. Okay,
Yeah.
what do you think about the amount of money required to use certain courses, platforms, and apps? Do you think the expenses kind of for the very good resources that are available, do you think the monetary charges they ask for they are okay, or do you think they are too much? Like, what do you feel? Is it okay the packages that they offer for the courses they have? Like, whatever
I feel
experience you have.
No, I feel in India, I don't know, I find them ridiculously overpriced, because I don't know, I don't have a first-hand experience with my child, because I haven't enrolled her into any such paid courses. But yeah, going by what I've heard from my peers or my contemporaries, I mean, whoever has enrolled their child into any other course, I mean, they often say they are overpriced. I mean, like somebody told me that their child was, they were charged for like some 80K, which was too much for a software course. I mean, so this is particularly something which you can even learn for free. Trust me, I can say that there are so many free resources online. I think you just have to invest in some time. And maybe even if you go on YouTube, you have professors like Walter Lewin from the MIT. they all air or they all telecast all these live videos of lectures and all of that. These are free. I mean, they are available to the public for free. And if you get such richness of education online for free, I mean, there is no point in investing such hefty money into such courses. I think at least in India they are very overpriced, and yeah, that's what I would want to say particularly.
So you haven't used any such like programs right away, right? Not
Right?
personally.
Yeah. No, I haven't. Yeah.
What about online gaming? Do you feel children should game?
I think there is no black or white over here. I think if your child wants to play games, I mean, it depends on the game. It is like if you have games like Minecraft or Temple Run and all those games, they are all infested with ads. Now, I would say only as parents, it is important for you to educate the child about all the negative practices that go on online. So before you give a device to a child's hand, you need to explain to him or her, because it could be as early as a 5-year-old child. You can teach them how you can be attacked online, because most of the online games they target children as their customer base, because they are the most vulnerable customer base, and they use this kind of subtle brainwashing where they would actually trigger and inspire the child to go on and pester their parents to buy something. And there are certain games which feature ads, or which feature videos which the child is forced to watch. And without watching that, the child cannot go on to the next game or the next level. So these are basically parts of behavioral targeting of ads. And I would say when you're telling, or when your child wants to play online games, just keep a watch on them, and make sure that the child sits somewhere in such a place or such a part of your house where you can keep an eye on that child, because you should also not come across as a spy on the child's activities. It will turn things very sour. And at the same time, it is important for you to teach the basic practice safety practices on the internet, because when you are online, you're not at all safe. You're accepting yourself to be vulnerable, because you'll be facing a
Absolutely.
lot of hackers, a lot of malware, and all those kind of stuff. And one thing I would want to say: never ever save your credit card details in your device, because you never know. There are kids as young as 3 or 4 who know to operate a device, and when they are desperate to cross the next level of the game, they are asked to make a purchase, and all they do is just like tuck tuck tuck, and they'll just they'll end up
My
making a
God.
purchase, and the parents wouldn't be even aware of that.
That's
Yeah,
very
that's
dangerous.
it.
And there are
Yeah.
more dangerous practices like addictive behavior, and there has been many
True.
such violent activities following online games which were banned. And many games have
Yeah.
been banned because they are security concerns. So yes,
True.
at my home, not more than 10 minutes. No games
Yeah.
without parental approval. So yes,
Yeah.
even we
Exactly.
agree it's not
Yeah.
safe. As soon as they are online, they are unsafe. They need to know
Right.
that
Right.
too. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I would say I would recommend that parents play those games themselves, because a
mm,
lot of games make use of very abusive language or adult-rated language, and
absolutely.
it's not really okay to normalize or sensitize kids towards such kind of a language, at least
True.
till they are 14 or 15 years of age, because that around that age they themselves understand that this is a very vulgar slang or that kind of a thing. So yeah, basically you get accustomed, as a parent, you get accustomed to the online game that your child wants to play, and then you can go ahead to decide whether your child can play or not. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. This thing is very true for YouTube videos also. Even
Right. Yeah,
children
yeah.
children focus content, they also have inappropriate content, even if it's for, young children.
Yeah,
Like what's
right, right.
appropriate for the western country may not be appropriate for our 10-year-old or our 8-year-old.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
that's
right,
where,
right.
like, it's going to be tricky, so you have to check that part
Yeah,
also. And excessive consumerism when they use these apps, because they are
yeah.
constantly being focused, on to buy stuff. That's true.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Advertising.
yeah, right.
Okay, so this was very interesting. Now I'll ask you a few more personal questions, like how did you
Sure.
study growing up? Like what made you study?
Study as in what exactly?
Like, study during exams, study for
Okay.
your higher studies. Like, what made you study well? Because being an engineer,
Okay.
you must have studied. Otherwise, it's not possible to be an engineer. Even if you have bunked classes, somehow,
Yeah,
somewhere, you must have studied. So, what
right.
made you study?
I feel my foundation was good and it was laid well by my mom. And she was the one who took my studies very seriously right from the LKG and right from my kindergarten and all of that. So she made every possible effort to become my teacher at home, my friend. She used to sing my nursery rhymes and enact those things, and she would keep one stick to hold to read along the lines because I used to mess up those lines and all that. So she helped me develop my interest in reading actually. And although she was not highly qualified, but yeah, I mean she was just a graduate, and she did not pursue anything after that. But she was really serious about my education, and I happened to be the only child, so I was the I was someone who grabbed all her limelight. So yeah, that was how she laid the proper foundation for my education. And she would set papers and all later on when I grew up, and she would time me and ask me to solve papers. She would select 4 5 year last 4 5 years papers and set papers accordingly, and then I would be asked to solve them. And growing up, I that made me independent actually, and I did not focus too much on who was teaching me the subject at school. I became self independent. If I was not happy with a certain teacher at school, I would just ignore that and probably look out for books or guides which I could learn at my own pace. So I had this habit of always making notes while studying, and because I feel unless you write something down, it doesn't get registered in your
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
At least,
I
yeah,
do
at
the
least for
same. I
me.
write everything down. I write down
Yeah,
my
right.
blog posts if possible, if I have time. Like, then I can speak better. Like, once I
True.
write down, I can speak on any subject. But just
Exactly.
reading, that's more difficult.
Yeah, right. Writing is more than just a practice. I mean, it empowers
Muscle
you,
memory.
and
It
right.
gives you
Yeah,
a muscle
exactly.
memory. It's a kinesthetic memory which goes directly to
Right,
the brain. So, yes,
right.
writing helps a lot.
Yeah. So, and unlike many other geniuses and like toppers at school, I wouldn't call myself, a very good student because at least I did not see that kind of a progress from my engineering days. That happens to a lot of people. I mean, like till 12th, you're among the cream of your school, and suddenly when you go into engineering, it's a different environment of learning. There is a certain different strategy that you have to use to crack the exams and all that. So yeah, I would say my graph receded a little bit after I joined engineering, to be very honest. But yeah, till 12th, I was very focused, and I'm not this early morning kind of person, neither a night owl. I can study well during the afternoons when everyone else wants to take a nap or do anything of that sort. I can learn best in the afternoon hours, and that was one of the reasons I used to bunk my afternoon sessions in my engineering classes because I used to have just 3 hours after the lunch break. I used to bunk them and get home. I know it's not a very impressive example to share with anyone. Yeah, but I used to bunk and I used to study at home or just catch up with some rest. But I like studying on my own rather than just blaming some teacher or saying, yeah, I didn't like that subject because she doesn't teach well or that kind of thing. So I was self-sufficient, and if I was not getting something, I used to always look forward to my friends. They used to teach me, and I've had really wonderful gurus during my engineering who taught me much more than my actual professors did. So I would attribute my computer and programming knowledge to one of my friends. Her name is Lily, and she was the one who actually arose the interest in coding and all when it came to me. So otherwise, I was not this kind of a person. I was always into literature, science, and that kind of stuff. So coding was a totally different discipline, and it was, if not for her, I wouldn't have developed this interest ever. So yeah, this was about my learning journey, and the same thing happened when I got my first job, which was again into training. So I had extra responsibility of sharing my knowledge with others. So you're more accountable over there. And yeah, that's it. So with every career break or anything of that sort, I was happy learning on my own, learning things, discovering things on my own.
That's very good to hear. And your favorite extracurricular habits? What do you like to do on your free time?
Free time, I like writing, any random thing. It could be anything. It could be anything about politics. It could be about education. It could be about health. Or I even go on random rants on Facebook. But writing is a liberation for me. And apart from that, yeah, I like listening to music. And yeah, then I like cooking also. So apart from these, I don't have really illustrious hobbies.
No, no, that's very good. All these hobbies are very relaxing. What about your daughter? Like you have a daughter, you said, right? She's
Yeah, right,
7.
right.
Okay, what
Yeah.
does she love doing?
She she likes craft work, and she likes mono acting,
Okay,
and she likes all kinds of stage performances, which is very
okay,
strange for me to discover because
okay,
yeah, earlier in school days, even I used to like to stage performances. I liked acting. I even used to script some skits and all of that. So
okay.
I really like telling people how to say a particular line or that kind of a thing. So I think like she likes giving out speeches and yeah, acting out skits. Or she loves stage activities actually and like craft work. And these days, she's been very keen on um, helping me in the kitchen as well. So that is another kind of hobby that she's developing. And she's asking me that I should create her YouTube channel. She would where she would just go on rambling and talk about random topics and all.
That's
Yeah,
very good. So your daughter likes the performing arts and
yeah,
crafting stuff. That's very good,
yeah,
very
right,
good,
right.
very good. This
Yeah,
is very nice talking to you, Ashwini. Thank you so
same
much.
here.
I think this was very helpful. I will disturb you again if I have more topics to ask you questions
And
about. Thank you
it
very
was a
much.
pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Okay, then I will just sign off. Bye.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.